Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer of the Trade Owner's Playbook. Okay, let's just dive right in today because we really need to start with a serious reality check. Look, you've probably spent years, maybe even a decade, getting incredibly good at your trade. You know the tools, you know the shortcuts, and you've probably built a pretty stellar reputation for yourself. But the playbook hits us with a really hard truth right out of the gate. Your technical skills alone, they absolutely will not build a successful business. Operating the tools and running a profitable company are just two totally different skill sets. And honestly, assuming they're the exact same thing is exactly why so many hardworking folks just totally burn out in their first year.
To fix that, we're going to walk through a 5-part roadmap today. We'll look at the mindset shift, choosing your business structure, compliance and essential insurance, mastering your business finances, and finally, finding your first customers. So let's kick things off with Section 1, the mindset shift, moving from a technician to a business owner.
This is really the very first internal battle the playbook says you've got to resolve. Operating the machine is just a completely different beast than architecting it. Think about the technician. They're operating in the business, but there is a massive, glaring problem there, a capacity cap. The output of the business is 100% dependent on your physical presence. The absolute second you step away, production stops cold. To break free from that personal dependence, you've got to make a shift. You need to become the architect. You've got to start systemizing, managing the money, and actually leading, rather than just executing every single task yourself. And that brings us to this really fundamental concept, working in the business versus working on the business. Working in the business means you're the one on the job site, right? You're swinging the hammer, rolling the shingles, pulling the wire, and yeah, probably taking ibuprofen like it's candy. It is exhausting, and it just doesn't scale. Working on the business, on the other hand, means you are building systems. You're creating checklists so the job gets done perfectly, even when you aren't there breathing down everyone's neck. You're checking the numbers, adjusting your pricing. Now look, in year one, yes, for sure, you are going to do a lot of working in the business just to survive. But you've got to ask yourself every single day, how could this be done without me? That is the scalable power of being an owner. The playbook points out 3 fatal traps in those first 24 months that keep people stuck as technicians. First up is the busy trap. You're running around all day long, but you're kind of confusing activity with actual progress. Driving to the supply house twice in one afternoon, that's not building a business, it's just poor planning. Second is the superhero trap. Look, just because you can do everything, the estimating, the bookkeeping, the heavy lifting, doesn't mean you should. Doing it all yourself isn't a superpower, it's a massive bottleneck. And finally, the income trap. This is a big one. Seeing a huge check clear and thinking, awesome, that's my money. Let's be clear, revenue is definitely not your personal salary. Treating it like it is will bankrupt you, plain and simple.
All right, moving right along to Section 2, choosing your business structure, or as I like to think of it, building your legal shield.
We absolutely have to talk about your legal setup here. The playbook strongly warns that operating as an accidental sole proprietor puts literally everything you own at risk. And if you don't actively set up a structure, that's exactly what you default to. Instead, the LLC, the limited liability company, is almost always the perfect starting point in year one. It basically builds a legal brick wall that protects your personal assets, like your house and your savings. Plus, it usually costs less than $500 to set up. Now, you might hear buddies at the supply house talking up an S-Corp to save on taxes, but honestly, an S-Corp comes with mandatory payroll and a whole lot of strict compliance headaches. It really only makes sense later on when your net profit consistently clears, say, 50 to 60 grand a year. For day one, get the LLC, get your EIN, and just get moving. Okay, Section 3, compliance and essential insurance. Basically protecting the machine you're building. So, we have to tackle the unglamorous stuff now, licenses and permits. I know, insurance isn't sexy at all, but let me hit you with an $80,000 lesson from the source material that proves exactly why skipping it will totally wipe you out. Okay, here's a terrifying reality. A contractor finishes a roof on a Tuesday. By Wednesday morning, the homeowner calls in a panic. Water is literally pouring through the ceiling. By the time the interior repairs, mold remediation, and temporary housing for the family are all calculated, the claim is $80,000. And because this contractor had no general liability insurance, he had to pay that completely out of pocket. Boom, the business died instantly. I really want to emphasize this. Insurance isn't just some pesky, annoying product the government forces you to buy. It is your essential ability to absorb a massive hit that would otherwise end your livelihood right then and there. The playbook breaks down a core trio of coverages that you absolutely must understand. First, general liability. This protects against third-party claims, like dropping a heavy tool and shattering a client's custom window, or that $80,000 water leak we just talked about? Second is workman's compensation. The absolute second you hire a helper, even part-time, you need this to cover on-the-job injuries. Finally, commercial auto. And guys, this one is huge. If you get into a wreck hauling equipment in your personal truck, your personal auto policy is likely going to deny the claim flat out because you're using it for business. You've got to have commercial auto coverage. Which brings us to Section 4, Mastering Your Business Finances. It's all about tracking your ammunition.
This is where financial stewardship comes in. You absolutely, positively must stop treating your business bank account like a personal slush fund. Check out this quote from the text. One account, one purpose, everything else flows from this. That means no buying your groceries or a new flat-screen TV out of the business checking account. All business money comes in here, all business expenses go out from here, nothing personal. If you want to get paid, you make a formal transfer to your personal account on a set schedule. That's called an owner's draw. Do not blur these lines because if you do, you pierce that corporate veil we talked about earlier and you lose your LLC protection entirely.
Let's actually walk step by step through this exact example from the Arch City Business Academy just to show you why tracking this is so crucial. Let's say you look at your top line and you see $18,000 in gross revenue. You feel amazing, right? But hold on, let's do the math. You subtract $6,000 for the cost of goods sold, that's your materials and direct labor. Then you subtract marketing, fixed costs like that insurance we just bought, your own salary as an overhead expense, and some admin costs. Suddenly, you are left with a net profit of just $3,000. See what happened there? That $18,000 in revenue, it's literally just a vanity number. The $3,000 net profit is the absolute unvarnished truth of your business's health. All right, finally, we've reached Section 5, Finding Your First Customers. Time to go on the attack. So many people waste literally months waiting for some perfectly designed website before they try to sell a single thing. But the playbook makes such a great point. You don't need a fancy logo to get paid. You just need hustle, a phone, and a willingness to ask. It lays out 3 proven, totally scalable paths to landing those first 10 customers. Step 1, your personal network. Step 2, door-to-door canvassing. And Step 3, referral partners. And hey, I want to pause here for a second and just say, you are going to hear the word no a lot, and that's okay. Hearing no is not a failure. It's not a reflection of how good you are at your trade. It is quite literally just part of the job in direct sales. Every single no just gets you one step closer to a yes. Your absolute fastest way to start is simple grabbing your smartphone, writing down a list of 50 people you already know, and directly asking them if they or anyone they know needs your service. Seriously, just ask. But looking at that middle path, hitting target neighborhoods door to door, say looking for older roofs if you're a roofer or peeling exterior paint if you're a painter, that is your most scalable engine. Because once you figure out that it takes, say, knocking on 30 doors to get one solid estimate, your business just becomes a totally predictable math equation. So I want to leave you with this final kind of provocative question to chew on. Tomorrow morning when that alarm clock goes off, are you going to show up as a technician just to maintain a stressful job for yourself? Or will you show up as an owner, ready to actively build a business? Take action today. Go file that LLC, go open that separate business bank account, and really commit to that mindset shift. You've got the playbook now. Now it's time to execute.